This is Stacy Marshall with Printware Magazine.
Matt Vassallo with the WritingStoneWorld.com.
Richard Greaves with ScreenMaking.com.
Brian Walker with RTP Apparel.
You are listening to the Two Regular Guys
Podcast.
Hosted by
Terry Combs.
Terry Combs.
Terry Combs.
And
Aaron Montgomery.
Aaron Montgomery.
Aaron Montgomery.
Keep on listening.
I don't know if these guys are that regular.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. It is Friday, September 28th, 2018. Well, it's not really September 28th, but we're going to explain that in a bit. I'm Terry Combs with Equipment Zone, and you can also find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at aaronmontgomery.info. Today, Terry and I are going to talk about developing a business plan, the operational planning portion of it. So we had this conversation originally as a installment of the Facebook thing that I've been doing. Facebook thing, I don't know the best way to describe it. The Facebook videos I've been doing myself on Saturdays, I'm calling Small Business Saturdays. And but I felt like it was such a great topic, Terry. You've got such good information on this that we wanted to dig deeper into that. So we're going to actually play that clip that we recorded already, but we're going to dig deeper afterwards. So our intended show for today, quote unquote, September 28th, was supposed to be us live from ISS Fort Worth. And
I was there.
Yeah, Terry was there. He was live. He was in the mix. He was ready to go. And the other half of the two regular guys didn't show up. So I was feeling pretty crummy on Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, and had a 6 a.m. flight the next Friday morning. And I don't know what time it was. It was pretty late, I think, Terry, when I texted you and I said, hey, man, I just don't think I can actually get on a plane tomorrow morning. My head is pounding. I'm just feel like total crap. And I thought maybe, I had strep throat or something. I had some problems with my throat and my jaw and stuff like that. Anyhow, short story long, I did not make it to Fort Worth. I spent the whole day on that Friday just kind of laying there trying to recover, trying to feel better. And by Friday night, I still hadn't gotten much better. So my wife insisted that I go to the emergency room, and got there to the emergency room Friday at like midnight because it took her that long for her to talk me into going to the doctor. And but anyways, I'm back. I'm feeling a lot better. I know what's going on. I had some high blood pressure issues that I was wholly unaware of. So working on getting that back under control. I got my blood pressure monitor behind me, and the numbers are looking better already, even after a week. So the new improved Aaron Montgomery 2.0 here.
You're gonna be like our friend Jeff Morgenthaler. He was talking to me recently, and he said, I was talking to my cardiologist, and he goes, I have one of those now.
I do not have one of those yet, but I probably should go find one. Oh boy. Anyhow, whirlwind. I appreciate everybody's understanding, and so bummed. I talked about this, but just really bummed about not making it to Fort Worth. I'm sure it was a great show, Terry, and even though the show technically is happening while you're at Fort Worth.
I know it's like time travel. We always talk about time travel, Aaron, and never explain what that really is, but we are really time traveling right now.
Have you been having Red Bull vodkas?
How many Red Bull vodkas does it take to get back to September 28, 2018?
3.5, Terry.
3.5. It's always 3.5.
It's a total inside joke, everybody. You'll have to meet us in person live at a show, and we'll tell you the real story behind time traveling. But all right. Well, like I said, we're going to apparently you can't see this show, so we've got some people tuning in already. Got Eric tuning in. Hey, Eric. Hopefully it's just Eric. We'll keep an eye on that, but we're kind of throwing this together. So stay tuned to the end of the show here. Terry is going to bring you 5 things and 5 ways to improve your business with information your employees already know. So it's all right there already, and Terry's going to help you extract that.
Exactly right. And we want to thank everybody for listening. We are so pleased to bring you this weekly show since February 2013, Aaron. This is our 6th season, hard to believe. And we always avoid those rants, lectures, and selling. And we would love to hear your comments or your suggestions for shows. You can go to our website, 2 regularguys.com. check out the show notes from previous podcasts, and we have all those links up there from all the shows we've done. We also would love to have suggestions again for shows. Go to the Contact Us page there, and you can, of course, find us through all types of social media at the number 2 Regular Guys. Now, Aaron, before we jump into our time travel show, let's hear a word from SGIA, and they're discussing the new SGIA Expo coming soon.
Hi, this is SGIA's Dan Marks, inviting you to attend the SGI Expo in Las Vegas this October. We're going to show you what's on the horizon, with more than 500 exhibitors showing the latest in dye sub, screen, embroidery, DTG, and more. We have 72 educational sessions, including a garment decoration track, and a special luncheon just for garment decorators. Registration is free through September 19th. Learn more at sgia.org/expo2rg.
All right. Well, again, as Dan said, just get over to sga.org/expo2rg. And while you're there, Terry, make sure that you get registered for the expo. But the other thing you need to add on to your registration is the garment decorating luncheon. I'm really looking forward to that, Terry.
As well.
There's limited seats available. So to me, it's going to be the best $30 you could spend. Well worth it. And I had an opportunity to go last year, and the networking was really second to none. So, and then on top of that, the speaker this year is going to be a gentleman by the name of Ricardo Crespo. Fantastic guy. He's the former chief creative at 20th Century Fox, as well as Mattel before that. So he's really an inspiring guy. So you don't want to miss this luncheon. And again, just buy your tickets right after you finish registering for the expo.
Yeah, and Aaron, and speaking of Ricardo Crespo, who is a dynamic speaker, so you'll want to see that. He's also the keynote speaker at the upcoming ThreadX happening February 17th through 19th in San Diego, California. The speaker list this year is amazing. Like last year, if you missed 2018, you do not want to miss 2019. And Aaron, you and I will be heading out there to hear speakers like Ricardo, Benny Gold, who's a San Francisco-based streetwear brand and boutique, and keynote speaker Aaron Draplin, who is a design wizard. And if you register early enough, you can sign up for a hands-on workshop with him. And Aaron, I don't know about you, I can't wait to go and see all these speakers again, and all the networking that we did last year and again this year.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. We're going to come up with something fun to do there from the event ourselves for the 2 regular guys. And I'm not sure what our travel schedule is going to be. It looks like everything's kind of packed on top of it. So it might be decorators in separate planes somehow. I don't know how we're going to do that. But
I do have a class at Atlas Greens Play in Chicago that Saturday and Sunday. So I might be late night flying in to San Diego.
Well, we're going to have a blast doing it. So Terry, real quick here before we get into what we're talking about here, I just wanted to again reintroduce what we did so people kind of understand how this is all working, what time travel is all about. I'm not going to explain time travel. No, what I'm going to explain is, so Terry, I'm trying to remember exactly what the date was, but the Saturday before this is supposed to drop, you and I had, right before your DTG Academy, in fact, you and I had maybe 15, 20 minutes tops of an opportunity to just talk about this topic that, again, when I think of operations and operational planning, you're my go-to guy. And, I had just wrapped up a 5-week series about developing your business plan. And I talked about all the key points like marketing, like finding your why, like budgets, and the whole gamut. And it was a really fun series. And I had lots of interaction between the series with the viewers and stuff like that. And I got to the end of it, and I was kind of trying to wrap everything up with a business plan template. And I go, oh my gosh, I missed a huge segment here of what's important in a business plan, the operational side of it. And then light bulb, Terry, help. So anyhow, we had a great conversation. We're going to actually plug that into this show here so you can hear all the things we talked about. And then we're going to have an opportunity to then come back and the things we talked about, go a little deeper into those things, because in that short amount of time, I think, we really kind of had to rush through a couple things that are really worthy of some more details. So,
in fact, I had to run out of the room and then run across the hall and start the DTG Academy. So
nice. There's a lot of running going on that day. I ran into the show, still covered in all of the color from the color run I had done that morning. So it was awesome. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy what we're talking about here. So here is that segment, and we'll be right back to talk more about that.
Teleport.
Let's start talking about this. I wanted to start out, Terry, with operations as part of your business plan. Why does this matter to us?
Well, Aaron, and this is something that especially startups and gosh, a lot of existing businesses kind of overlook. And you've got your overhead to start with, and you've got your electric, you've got your water, you've got your rent or your mortgage or whatever. You've got the insurance you're paying, and those are all fixed costs that you need to cover, and that's all a part of your pricing. And when somebody says to you, okay, well, what price should I charge? Well, I don't know what price you should charge because my situation is different than your situation. Somebody might have an hourly overhead cost of $20. The next person might be $200. So you have to take that into account. And in the larger companies, and Aaron, and anybody that listens to the Two Regular Guys knows I started out at my basement with just me. Yeah. And up to having 75 production floor employees. And there's really no difference one to the other. You still have to look at what your monthly or weekly costs are and take a look at the hours that you're doing production and divide that out. And, here's the nut that I have to cover. I've got maybe it's $100 an hour. I've got to cover that $100 an hour or $500 an hour, depending on the size of my company, or $1,000 an hour. Yeah. But I've got to cover that, divide it out. And okay, in that hour, if I'm running a manual press and it's $100 an hour, well, chances are $1 of every shirt I sell is going to go into that overhead. And if I'm working just me, maybe I'm only doing production for 20 hours. You have to figure that out and allow for it. So, yeah. Overhead, I think, is a big part of that. And if you're a startup, you have to kind of just guesstimate what that's going to be. And as you go along with your business, then you can fine tune it. But you got to start and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a huge point that you make there. It's important to get all that stuff built in first. And like I said, even if you're a startup, we got to guess that. We got to figure that out, and then we got to come back and review it. The other 5 pieces that we talked about earlier, Terry, we had a lot of that stuff where, okay, we need to understand these things, but it's okay if you get it wrong. You're not going to ruin your business by getting it wrong. You need to think about it and have a good starting point, and then review that and keep it. We're talking about a business plan in this sense, Terry, as this is what we're going to actually do with our business. This isn't the ring bound, I'm taking it to the bank and hopefully they'll give me millions of dollars for my great business idea kind of business plan. Right. Perfect. Great stuff, Terry. All right. Talk to me about the manufacturing side of it, the production planning. Let's say, you mentioned you started in a basement and gone all the way up to 75 production employees. I'm assuming the space that you worked in were 2 different spaces. How do we how do we look at that? How is this important to plan?
They were indeed. Well, first of all, this is the how am I going to accomplish the task I need to accomplish? And so you're going to start a business, and of course, you think you're going to sell 1 million pieces a month, but that's not a realistic thing. So, but you do have to kind of take a look at, okay, I really need to accomplish this amount of production. Then you have to take a look at the equipment that you either are going to buy or the equipment that you already have, and say, okay, this is what I am capable of doing. Now, first of all, I'm a sales guy, but don't trust the numbers that a sales rep gives you. When I go to like a trade show, and my background is primarily screen printing, so I'll see these these guys running automatic presses, and well, how many pieces? 700, 800 pieces an hour. Well, how many of those could I sell? I mean, that's my real question. When you see these contests there and where let's see which machine is the fastest. I bet there aren't 10 saleable products in there at all. So, so realistic numbers that you can do with the machines you have. So I guess the manufacturing production plan that I'm looking at is I want to accomplish this. What equipment scenario do I need to do that with? And I know we're going to talk about scheduling, estimating production time, but you also need to take a look at what you have, if you're already in business, and what am I capable of doing? And back in many years ago when I was a plant manager, the accounting department and myself would sit down at the beginning of every year and say, okay, this is what sales says that they're going to be able to do, a 10% increase. What's it going to take on your end to accomplish that? And you don't want to say, well, we could just use what we have now, because if you're at max production, you need to do something. You need to either hire more people, build more, or purchase more equipment, whatever it takes to accomplish that task. And of course, mixed into that is to maximize what you can do, because the beauty of what we do is there's always room for improvement. And with most garment decorators of any sort, there's a lot of room for improvement. So sometimes it's just a matter of becoming more efficient about what you do without buying more equipment, without hiring more people. But again, I'll go back to, you're either buying or you have this equipment. What is that equipment capable of accomplishing? And of course, when you're talking about space limitations, then maybe the answer isn't buying more equipment. Maybe the answer is putting on a second shift. One thing that I really like, and I know we're going to talk about employees as well, but one thing I really enjoy doing is having my production crew work Monday through Thursday, 10 hours a day. And that gives me one less day of setting up and tearing down the production floor. And to get somebody to work overtime on Friday is 1,000 times easier than to getting them to work overtime on, like I'm working today, Aaron, on Saturday.
Exactly.
Which you were pointing out to me before we went on the air.
All right. So got a couple of people tuning in here. A couple of guys, Terry. So Marshall Atkins said good morning. So
good morning, Marshall.
Good morning, Marshall. And then this is a blast from the past for me. Nino used to be with Gruner. We knew him from Gruner over there in Germany. So good evening.
Yeah, great to see you on there, Nino. Long time.
Yeah,
Nino, I just saw Wade a few minutes ago peeking in my office door. I know you guys were big buddies.
Nice. All right. So so you covered on the space thing. I definitely wanted to cover on that because we have a lot of people, small businesses here that, they're looking at some of these things and like, I don't have 75 employees that I've got to schedule and figure out and all that other stuff, but I think what you were saying is that this is equally important for, the basement guy to figure out, because what are you going to do, and then the space thing I think is also really important to understand and plan for. If you're in a small office room, and yet you want to try to have an automatic press or something crazy like that, A, how are you going to get it in there? B, how are you going to operate it? Those kinds of things are all important, I think, to plan within your business plan too. So
exactly right, because at a certain point in time, all the overtime or all the second shifts or whatever you're going to do, you grow out of the space, and hopefully you do, because that means you've got more business than you're capable of accomplishing right now. So it's time to expand.
All right, good. Well, I'm trying not to sneeze because I'm afraid that I'm going to sneeze a rainbow after my color run here. So it's
I'm ready
right now. So
I'm ready to make a screenshot.
Yeah, get ready. All right, Terry. So you mentioned the scheduling and estimating production time stuff, and before we do that, I did want to pop this link up here. You've got an ebook on this very subject for screen printers. So if people go to bit.ly. I just created this short link because it's a little easier to get to because it's over on Amazon. Terry Production. So bit.ly/Terry Production. Go check that out. best $3 you'll ever spend. I'm not a screen print guy, and I actually think I bought the book too. So, yeah, just so I could steal from it and pretend like I know what I'm talking about here. But we've got the guy that does know what he's talking about. So, talk to us about that scheduling piece and the estimation of that.
It's funny. I did a shop makeover over the phone for Printware Magazine one time, and it was a company. They were doing cut vinyl and things like that, not really screen printing, not something I normally do. But I said, what is the one thing that you need help with? And she said, I cannot sleep at night worrying about, did I get this done, or am I going to get these jobs done? And so I helped her to understand how to schedule production, because most people do not schedule production. Most people juggle production. If somebody walks into your shop and places an order, if your response to them is, when do you need it? You're juggling production, because you should be able to say to them, this will be ready Tuesday afternoon, or this will be ready a week from Thursday, anytime in the morning. Because if you understand what you're capable of doing, and that's the sticking point. If you understand what you're capable of doing, you can make a real schedule. Because a lot of folks say, I should be able, let's say you have a manual screen printing press, I should be able to manually print 100 pieces an hour. But in your shop, maybe that's not what you're doing. Maybe you're actually printing 50 pieces an hour. You have to base this, number one, on what you're doing right now. And then number two, improve on that. But, folks who schedule according to what they wish they could do as opposed to what they can do, you're always behind schedule, always behind schedule. So in my book, Scheduling Estimated Production Time, I talk about how to actually record how long it takes you to do different function in your business. And as it relates to screen printing, how long it takes you to set up a job, how long it takes you to print the job, how long it takes you to tear down the job until you're reaching for the next screen for the next job. And once people do this, they're just appalled, because some part of that is probably really lacking. You still got to use those numbers to build your schedule. Now, then you go on and improve on that, and then you can update those numbers. But you're insane to try to do the best case scenario, because here's what happens in most shops. Okay, I'm going to figure out how long it takes me to set up, print, and tear down a 4-color job. So you walk out on the floor and say, okay, we're going to time this. And okay, and I hit the stopwatch. Well, guess what? They have never set up a job faster. They have never printed a job faster. And they've never torn it down faster. And now you say that's the standard. That is not day to day in your shop. What I want you to record is 30, 40 jobs of 1 color, of 2 color, of 3 color, 4 color. And it takes work, first of all, to do this. You've really got to commit to it. You've got to, from the time you start setting up the job till the time you pull or push that squeegee, that's your setup time. And guess what? Going to grab a Mountain Dew out of the soda machine, that's part of setup time. If that person, because there's a finite number of hours in your day, and if that person, every time they put in the last screen, they've got to go get a soda, maybe go have a cigarette, that's part of the setup time. Because there's basically, if you have breaks in your production schedule, you have about 37 and a half hours of production time on each one of your machines. And if all that time has to be allowed for. I did a consulting job once where the owner said, we've got 6 manuals, we've got 4 automatics. We all of our printers get bonuses if they exceed the number of pieces they're supposed to print. And every one of our printers gets hundreds of dollars in bonus every week. And we're always like a week behind, always a week behind. I'm like, well, that is entirely impossible then, isn't it? So something you're doing wrong in your schedule. Well, it come to find out, all they were keeping track of was the actual printing time. They weren't keeping track of the setup or teardown time. So it was like rodeo. They were like print, and
hands up, done. 8 seconds.
And I know you're a rodeo guy, so so anyway,
I love that one. That's
the biggest thing The biggest thing you have to allow for that time. And I came up with some pretty simple formulas that when someone comes in and places an order, I can sit there in 20 seconds and write on that order, here's the production time, the estimated production time for this job. And then I drop it into my schedule. And once for that machine that's full for that day, then we go to the next day. And so I always know where I am. And I'll wrap this up by saying the person that I did the consulting job with, about a year later, she and her husband were waiting outside a conference room in Long Beach, California. And they said, hey, first of all, we just wanted to meet you face to face. And the wife said, and I got to tell you, I'm sleeping at night. Thank you so much.
That's great. That's great. No, I think this is really something that all decorators can look at. In fact,
oh, absolutely.
Terry, people know that I work with a company called Pick the Gift, and things are pretty crazy over there right now. Just getting ready for the holiday season, is big fourth quarter push. But another major sublimation wholesaler just closed their doors, Colorado Timberline. So everybody's looking for new places to go, and a lot of them are ending up in our lap, and certainly appreciate that. But we were looking at things going, okay, how do we continue to maintain our standards, the production standards that we want to give to all of our customers? We don't want to just take care of the new customers. Anyways, the point being is, so we've got two large presses, heat presses, calendar presses, sorry. And we took a look. In fact, we just did this last week, Terry, and I referenced you in this conversation that we've had before. And I said, what we need to do is we need to actually time how long stuff is actually coming off the end of that belt. When items are coming off the belt, that is when we're making money. When stuff's not coming off the belt, products are not being made. And we made some really interesting discoveries that, we thought we were running these presses all day long. They really weren't. They would run, and then they'd go, the crew would go and pull the next batch of blankets and different things. And, oh, wait a second, we got to figure this one out and figure this one out. And we were able to make some changes to where, okay, crew gets a little bit larger, but they are going in, so while one crew's up there putting blankets on, the rest of the crew is either quality control catching, or the rest of them are pulling the next roll that is going to go on that press, so really good stuff there, and credit you for giving me that idea.
and Aaron, that's more the rule than the exception. When I go on somebody's production floor, it's common to look around and not one machine is running. And it's all about efficiency. And I've written a few articles on doubling your production in 30 days. And I've actually gone and done that on a consulting basis. And you should see the eyes of the decorators when I say we're going to double production. They're like, I can't print twice as fast. It's never the printing. The printing is the easy part. Most people are really efficient about the actual decorating. Yeah. It's all the other steps where they get tripped up.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Well, I know you've got limited time here, Terry, and I appreciate you spending some time with me to talk about this. Just maybe lump these two together here, because I know they're a little bit separate, but talk to me about some inventory management, supplies, kind of that kind of thing. But then also want to talk about labor all at the same time. So maybe you can just wind yourself up and go.
Well, I have a real problem with that. Well, here's the great thing about inventory is for most of us, depending on what business you're in, you don't have to carry a lot of inventory, because most of us are within a day or two of a supplier who can provide us with inventory. By the time you prepare the art and do all the things you need to do, depending on what kind of decorator you are, you can get inventory there. I always tell my screen printing classes, I only carry white shirts in inventory. And because, if somebody comes in and wants navy shirts, well, by the time I do the art, I'll put the films, burn the screens, the shirts are sitting there. And the reason I carry white shirts is because when that last minute person comes in and says, man, I screwed up. I'm supposed to order shirts for this picnic, and it's tomorrow. Can you help me? Yeah, I can help you. Well, I was thinking navy shirts. I've got white. It's not like you're going to go down the street. What would I rather print? I think I'd rather print white. But the biggest thing, certainly as you grow, and really even as a small business, is is make sure that you've got good counts on your inventory, because that's one of the things that I do on a production floor regularly is I'll have my quality control folks, the folks at the end of the belt, keep track of downtime. And downtime, an example is we had to wait to get 3 more mediums. And the first time I ever did that on a big production floor, that was the thing. It was under the radar. Nobody really realized, but the biggest killer of time for us was going back and having to get corrected inventory. So the new rule was this, and the manager of that department was, every order that leaves the warehouse to go over to the production floor must be double counted and must be signed for. And that issue disappeared 100% because of that. Did it take some extra labor? It did. Did it make me make more money? It did. So inventory can be a real silent killer on your production floor. And then that comes around to labor, because it was human error that made that happen. And first of all, make sure that you have a group of good quality employees, people that you want to have there year round, and make it so that they are versatile enough that when you go through those heavier peak seasons, that when you bring in those part-time help, those part-time workers, that they're right there with your full-time folks, and actually adding to what it is you need to accomplish. And of course, and this doesn't deal with labor, but I'm all about finding other supplemental business to fill in those valleys. But I always tell people, I always ask for a show of hands, and I did it actually yesterday in this direct-to-garment class. Who has employees? And a few people raised their hand. I said, your life changed forever that day, didn't it? Because, and I used to work with someone, an owner of a company, and he said to me, why don't all of these employees think about this business the way I do? And I'm like, because you are an entrepreneur, and you're cool with being here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These folks have other lives. They want to get a paycheck. They want to do a good job. And but you have to understand that this is not their passion necessarily. Yeah, we were talking about labor, and something that I want to point out to everybody out there that has employees is assume this, and this is 99.9% true. When people work for you, they want to do a good job. So allow them to do that. Trust people to do their jobs. And guess what? If they mess up a little bit, then suck it up and move on, because you're way ahead by allowing somebody to do their job and do it properly than kind of hovering over them. Because we joke about a new book I want to write is how to micromanage your business to success
or failure, I think.
Exactly. So, the more employees you get, the more you need to trust them to do their jobs. And yeah, you're going to check, but allow them to do a good job. And, and here's something else. A lot of folks will, you have 10 employees, you have one bad apple. Well, 90% of your time you focus on that person. Don't do that. Focus on the people who are doing a really good job and point it out to other people. And that will pull the positive people ahead. So, dealing with employees it's like dealing with your own children, But as I said, they want to do a good job for you. Let them do that.
Got it. Okay. So I kind of feel like you're talking to me about two regular guys, and I should point out more of the good things that you do and less of the bad things. Is that?
Well, no. Well, okay. but I will tell every owner, every manager, every supervisor, when you say to someone, hey, you did a really good job, never add a but. Never do that.
Okay. Yes, that's a good point. All right, Terry, I know you got to get to it here. So, but just can you give us a real quick about planning for quality control? And then
Absolutely.
I promise I'll let you get to it.
Here's the number one rule that you have to instill in everybody. Walk in and ask all your employees tomorrow or Monday, who's in charge of quality control? And if every one of your employees doesn't say me, then you're doing something wrong, because everybody has to be responsible for quality control. Second thing is if somebody sees an error, then and gets it rectified. I remember one time the art director came out to me and she said, 3 different people have walked into the art department and said, is this correct? And I keep telling them it is. Well, guess what? Take that order and write on it, this is correct, and sign your name to it, and then nobody will come back. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But always have them sign their name.
Yeah.
Because that all of a sudden makes them go, wait, is this right or not? Because it sure is easy to say, I think it's royal.
Yeah.
Is it royal? Write your name on here.
Yeah, exactly.
Teleport!
All right. Well, Terry, again, it was a lot of fun. Tons of great information there. Definitely some pieces that, you and I kind of talked about, you dug into this and said, let's cover these topics a little bit more here. So the first one I want to talk about is where you talked about having enough equipment and having the right equipment to meet your goals and things like that. And, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Aaron, I re-listened to the show last night and just kind of comparing with my notes and as you mentioned, we had to squeeze a lot of information into a very short window. But one of the things under having enough equipment is, especially in screen printing, there's always that transition, from manual shop to automatic shop, and I have people ask me about that all the time. When is the best time? And there's one thing that is going to happen, which I will guarantee you, no matter how many manual presses you have, maybe you're running 3 and you're saying, I just can't keep up, I'm going to get an automatic. Well, what you'll find is once that automatic is up and running, all those jobs that you were backed up on, they're going to be done by Tuesday. And then, then it's going to be really a total regroup on bringing in more business to, as we like to say in the industry, feed the beast.
Yeah.
And, Aaron, and that's why I always tell people too, listen, if you have excess production and you need somebody to print it for you, find somebody with an automatic, because they are always looking for business to keep those presses running, and you can get some really great prices from them just to keep the machine running, which means keeping their staff employed and keeping those machines moving. But there's no good way to make that transition. It's like falling off a cliff. Then you're going to have to come back up again, and fill that machine. But once you do it, obviously, you're going to be making a whole lot more money. So
yeah. And it's interesting, Terry, you had kind of mentioned, kind of using other people that have automatic equipment. And I think that may be kind of the Band-Aid. Like I said, there's no good way to make that transition. But, and what you said there, I kind of thought to myself, okay, you just got to find that partnership, that you may think that they're a competitor, but if you find the right partnership, the right synergy there, that might be the easiest way to kind of jump that transition. And, but be honest with them about it. This is what I want to do. And a lot of times people, this actually happens with us at Pick the Gift. We'll have people that come to us and say, hey, we just need your help because we can't produce this stuff. And, we're always really open with them about the fact that we're okay with you using us right now. And then, when you're ready to jump into more, when you're ready to add that piece of equipment or stuff like that, we're going to be here to help you figure that stuff out too. So it's about finding the right partnership, I think, is key to that and easing that transition pain a little bit.
Exactly right.
Yeah. All right, Terry. Well, the other segment that, and we talked about a lot of segments, and again, you just heard all of that there, but wanted to dig a little bit more into scheduling and estimating time. Tell us about how your downtime log works.
Yeah, and we kind of brushed over that, but basically it's this: you're gonna have a stack of sheets that you're gonna print out, and it's gonna have some categories for reasons that your presses are down or whatever machines you have are down. Yeah. And one of them might be inventory. One of them might be screens. One of them might be art. The categories like that, and also an other, because you might be surprised that there's another reason that your machines are down. And in screen printing, and this, you can make it work for whatever type of decoration you're using. Every time that press stops, you write down the time and you write down the reason. And then when it starts back up again, you write down the time and you make this whole stack of paper for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Yeah. And then you go and you sort them out by category. and maybe it's art. And so for that week, I lost production time. I lost 3 hours and 25 minutes because of art questions. And I'm going to sort those out by starting with number one being the most lost time. And I'm going to address that. I'm not going to try to address everything. I want to address that one reason and find a solution for it. And then I'm going to go to reason number two. And this might take you a month, might take you 3 months, but it really does increase your production when you attack things like that. It takes some time and some effort on your part, but the rewards are enormous. And this comes back to business planning because it's going to make you a more profitable production company. And let me jump to another subject as well, Aaron, in the area of scheduling that we didn't discuss. And I talked about how you can schedule your production, but what about the sales department? We have that special customer we have to deal with. So when I build a schedule, my favorite is my dog ate my order. That actually happened to me one time.
Oh my God.
Because somebody told me, hey, I got to squeeze an order into production. I'm like, well, why is that? Well, I got this new dog. And I said, stop right there. Do not tell me your dog ate your order. He goes, I don't want to tell you, but it's true. So, but I will block out 10% of my schedule for the sales department, and they can use that for any order they want to drop into there. And then if they drop in too many, then my question is, okay, what order do you want me to take out of my schedule to squeeze this additional order into? And it gives them, because they feel pretty powerless when they lose control of the schedule. Most shops, the sales department's in control and shouldn't be, but it gives them that power again to be able to squeeze orders in. So I always allow for that as well. And if I'm scheduled weeks out, I'm going to save another 10% just for emergency. And the worst case scenario is I have to bring a couple of orders forward to fill those spaces. And I personally have never had a customer complain that they got their order too soon. So
No, I do not want my order much earlier than you said. That is definitely not something we've ever heard before either. So Terry, the one thing that I keep thinking about too is, again, reviewing what we talked about that Saturday, but then digging into these things a little bit more. We've talked a lot about screen printing here, but I think these concepts really can be used across the decorating world.
Absolutely.
I mean, I obviously think sublimation and the production of the sublimation process when my mind's going, because that's what I'm involved with. But this could be your direct to garment business. This could be your embroidery business. I definitely am sitting there thinking of all these concepts for how we can improve things at Pick the Gift. So I think after we're done here, I'm going to go and take this recording and play it as loud as I can in the middle of the production.
That sounds like a great idea.
All right, Terry. Well, during that discussion on Small Business Saturdays there, we talked about dealing with the ebbs and flows, labor and things like that. But we also wanted to talk a little bit about some things about like spoilage and quality control and some things like that. So maybe start there with spoilage and talk to us about that.
Well, yeah, and that's something that, again, new businesses and even existing businesses don't take into account. The standard for screen printing in spoilage, and spoilage, by the way, is a nice way of saying, hey, I ruined another shirt that we can't sell. Yeah. But the standard for screen printing is 3%. So every 100 shirts, there's a potential that 3 of them are going to be ruined. So you have to take that into account when you're pricing your products and when you're making your purchases, things like that. Now, in my shops, I keep track of spoilage, and usually, Aaron, as you know, and I'm sure any of our longtime listeners know, I've kind of gone from shop to shop as a production or plant manager, and usually because they're hemorrhaging money and don't know why. Yeah. And spoilage is one of those things, and I'll track it for a while. Usually, it comes out to 3, maybe more percent. But my target is always 1.5%. because there's no way that you're going to never have spoilage. You might catch a shirt on the edge of a platen as you're putting it on the dryer, and yeah, it folds on itself, or a variety of other reasons. When I came into my shop one day and after lunch and had smelled the distinct smell of burning fabric, walked over to my biggest dryer and said, does anybody realize that those sweatshirts are just rolling and on fire inside of this dryer right now? and and then my question was, who didn't realize that you were putting shirts on the dryer, but none were coming out the other end? And this is, of course, after we took, brooms and got everything out, stomped on it on the floor. But there's going to be spoilage. So you take that into account. But as a screen printer, 1.5% is always my target, and probably a good number throughout other types of decoration as well. But
wow.
and
10 to 15% is not a good number.
Not a good number. No, not at all. Hey, unless you're charging substantially more than your competitors.
Okay. All right. Good to know. So, I love the story about the sweatshirts in the dryer. It reminds me of our conversation we had with Patrick from Spectrum about how they had a similar situation and how some of their employees were quick to jump to the fact that, hey, we can still save these things in a certain way. So
right.
And then as you're talking about spoilage too, Terry, and this time travel show is very difficult to wrap my head around here. So I had to remember that, but you said spoilage, and I was also thinking about some color and managing color and things like that. And then I realized that color conversation is a week from now. It's in the future. So I'm seeing into the future here when we talked with Jesse Martinez.
Exactly.
And, so spoilage can be that too. Your colors are off. There's different kinds of things that happen when you just can't sell the product.
Right. Everybody, no matter what type of decorator you are, has experienced a misspelled word, and the further away from when that mistake was made, the less chance of catching it. Because, far down the road, somebody in shipping is going to go, well, somebody surely checked this. Yeah,
exactly. It's gotten that far because you've got some good techniques for that. In fact, it's probably a lot like your downtime logs. How do you do the same kind of thing where you're tracking these spoilage things that are happening and then figure out how can we, let's tackle the biggest one and then work our way down. So
exactly right. That's an excellent example. And I often hear people saying, hey, I'm looking for a working manager or working supervisor. That means somebody to run a press and also answer questions. You've got to have management that isn't running a press or whatever, so you can do these types of things to better your business. So
yeah, definitely. All right. Shrinkage control. Talk to us about that.
Shrinkage, nice way to say theft. Someone's stealing from me.
Got it. It's kind of like the pool was cold kind of shrinkage.
Exactly. I went straight to Seinfeld as well. But the biggest thing, there's probably going to be some theft at some point in time. The more employees you have, but the biggest thing is eliminate the temptation. I worked at a company one time where we had big bay doors next to the production area, and we had to kind of block them off so that everybody exited through one door. And certainly didn't lock them, so in case of that dryer fire. But we just made it a policy that everybody went through one door, and hey, we weren't checking bags or anything like that. But the temptation's there when you're slipping out the back door, I think. And so that type of thing. And hey, give your employees the opportunity to buy things at a big discount and that sort of thing. So to eliminate shrinkage or theft in your company. But Aaron, we're coming up on the holidays, and something that I've done in a couple of different shops that I've run is we would do holiday shirts, Christmas shirts, or sweatshirts, things like that, and let employees place orders for them and basically buy them at cost. And that was huge. That was really popular. We'd have a big production run of employees, and they're giving them away as Christmas gifts. So
very cool. That's a great idea. So Terry, I was also thinking about, you talk about employees kind of wanting to take some things. And what about like the spoilage and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on, that you can't sell it to a customer? What do you do with those?
And certainly, I've had, most people will keep those spoiled shirts and use them as test shirts, that sort of thing. But I don't have any problem giving them to employees. And you have to be careful, though, because if it's a licensed product, you really can't do that. So you have to keep that in mind. And in a contract with somebody like Disney or Harley Davidson, it'll state in the contract that any misprints have to be destroyed and can't be given away or sold. So, but yeah, I commonly will allow to have people take those spoiled items with the understanding that, hey, they didn't spoil it on purpose. Hey, there's a little ink spot right down here in the side where I'm going to tuck it in.
Yes. Well, you try to do things and then they take it a little bit too far. Yes, I've seen that happen before too. In fact, I was talking to a guy the other day that has a direct-to-garment business, and he was talking about his spoilage and some things like that, and again, worried about the shirts for his customers getting out there and being, so can't go to Goodwill or things like that because of licensing or whatever. He actually donates them in a manner where they actually shred them and use them as insulation and stuffing for like pet beds or different things like that. So I know at Pick the Gift, we donate a lot of the misprinted blankets to like the local humane societies because, they can use those, get the scared pets kind of warmed up and they make a mess of them and they don't worry about just throwing them out after that, so
right. Exactly.
Good stuff that you can do there.
Yeah.
All right, Terry. Well, anything that we missed then that we want to cover a little further?
I think those were the notes that I kind of glossed over in our rush to finish that show. So hope everybody enjoyed those points in our time travel tape as well. And Aaron, I guess it's time to hear a word from our sponsor, Equipment Zone. Our show today is sponsored by Equipment Zone. Go to equipmentzone.com for the Epson F2000 direct-to-garment printer. Equipment Zone is the only Epson reseller who sends a technician to every customer location for training. This is an absolutely free visit to your location. Equipment Zone is also the manufacturer of the #1 pre-treat machine in the industry, the Speed Treater TX. With no compressor and no special tanks, the Speed Treater TX is the easiest and most consistent pre-treat machine available worldwide. Go to equipmentzone.com for the Epson F2000, the Speed Treater TX, and for all your DTG inks and supplies. That's equipmentzone.com. That's equipmentzone.com. Yeah, and Aaron, we just wrapped up a DTG Academy, as we said, at the Tempe, Phoenix, Arizona office, and getting ready to schedule New Jersey and Tempe events again for 2019. They've been tremendous. It's not just how to run a direct-to-garment printer, but it's how to run a direct-to-garment printer business and social media and everything. It's a tremendous event. Lots of speakers. So everybody keep a lookout for that at equipmentzone.com.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to hearing the schedule for that. Speaking of other events here, Terry, just want to share a couple of the events that I've got coming up. Every Saturday, I'm doing the Small Business Saturdays, except for tomorrow in the world of time travel, because I will be in the emergency room. This is pre-emergency room too. So.
Right. Hope that goes well.
Yeah, me too. So October 17th, though, I wanted to let everybody know that I will be teaching during the Essential Small Business Strategy session. I'm going to be talking about marketing your business online. I'm the very last speaker of the day. So
Vegas, that means you're the headliner.
Based on the list of people that are going to be speaking, I think I'm far from that, and I am just honored to be part of this group. So it's going to be an excellent show. Day before SJA, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Las Vegas time, October 17th. So make sure you get registered for that. And then Friday, October 19th at 10:30 a.m., I will be presenting digital marketing, growing your business with social media, and email marketing. So another topic that I am truly passionate about. I was going through it with my wife, and she said, here's the deal. You're so passionate about this that you have to slow down. Okay. But I've only got an hour to get all this information in. Anyways, it's going to be fun. But what about you, Terry? What's coming up?
On October 13th and 14th, I'm going to be presenting my complete screen printing business course with Atlas Screen Supply. It's going to be in the Nashville location, and that is the second time I've done the class there. October 27th and 28th, I'll be doing the same class, complete screen printing business course at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix. November 1st, Aaron, and getting towards the end of the year, I'm going to be in Charlotte offering the free Epson DTG class with Equipment Zone and Epson, and that's going to be the day before the NBM show in Charlotte opens up. And 2 days after that, November 2nd and 3rd, I'm going to be exhibiting there with Equipment Zone, last show of the year. The following weekend, November 10th and 11th, I'm going to be back in Chicago, and I'm going to be doing my complete screen printing business course at Atlas Screen Supply, and that is in Schiller Park, actually, in and close to O'Hare Airport. And all my events, Aaron, are going to be up on my website, terrycombs.com. Click on tour dates.
Awesome. All right. Who do I need to talk to over there at Equipment Zone to get the official Terry Combs tour date shirt put together?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll have Wade put that together for me. He loves to do that type of thing.
Perfect. All right, Wade, you're on notice. I would like one of those shirts at SGA, please. So. All right, Terry. Well, let's get to 5 things here. It's your week, so ready, set, go.
All right. Well, it's 5 ways to improve your business with information your employees already know. Number 1, buy pizza and have a casual sit down with your staff. Number 2, ask, what are 5 things, again, 5 things, what are 5 things we do that are outdated, too complicated, or wasting time? Your employees know that. Yeah. Number 3, ask around the room, if there was one thing that would make your job easier, what would it be? Number 4, who has an idea that will make our finished product better? People in your staff have these answers. Number 5, after the fact, report back to your crew on things you've acted upon and on things you chose not to act upon, but explain to them why. So those are my 5 things that your employees are going to help you improve your business with.
Awesome. Great 5 things there, Terry. So thanks for sharing that. Again, I will have this episode playing loudly there at Pick the Gift. So hopefully
very nice.
Make some of these things happen. Terry, great stuff. Thank you for traveling in time with me today. And hopefully everything comes out well on the other side of this. Normally, we're a little shaky after traveling in time.
Exactly. But I think we've done well today, Aaron. We've done well.
Awesome. All
For
right,
practice.
Well, good job. All right, Terry. Well, come to the close of the show. So let's get on to next week here.
Yeah, thanks to our show producer, Eric Campbell. He's at ericcampbell.com. We also like to thank our sponsors, the Specialty Graphic Imaging Association and Equipment Zone. We very much appreciate your support.
Excellent. Yes. And next week, if you're traveling in time with us here, we will be welcoming in Jesse Martinez from Matsui International, and he's going to talk to us about water-based color matching in screen printing. So I know it's an awesome show.
I feel good about it. All right. Until next week, I am Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery, and we are the two regular guys.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.